Hey guys, welcome to Punky's World. Usually I do these cases on the other channel, and I did. I just can't find my notes. A 15-year-old boy named Joseph Perkins here in the town of Douglas in 1985. In fact, it was, you get you the exact date. Close. Thank you. In February of 1985, murdered his grandparents and his mother here in Douglas. His mother's name was Charlene Nunez, age 36 at the time, and her parents, Robert E. Holmes, 58, and Marcella Holmes, 60. He was arrested in Braintree. They initially didn't have any motive. The motive turned out to be that he was mad because his mother had moved them to her parents' home in Douglas, a rural community at that time consisting of 3,700 people. We now have 8,000 something, close to 9,000, from their home in Braintree, which is a big city. It was a huge shock for him, and he was none too pleased. He had a girlfriend back home and stuff, and evidently some issues that weren't addressed. Maybe they weren't known about. And he got a hold of his grandfather's gun. He shot his grandfather. He waited for his mother to come home. He shot her in the doorway. No, he shot his grandmother in her bed. He waited for his grandfather to come home. He shot him. He waited for his mother to come home, and he shot her in the doorway. Do you know how scary that was? This was February of 1985. That means I was 9.5 years old. So about 5 years younger than this young man. This young man was only 15. It was absolutely terrifying to walk through my little path in the woods to go to school, knowing what had happened. All of us kids were well aware of it. It was terrifying. He was convicted, and he was released. He was convicted as a juvenile. He was released, given a new name, and moved to a different state. His sister said when he was released that she was terrified of him. But I guess she's protected in the sense that he has no idea where she is. I mean, can you blame her? She lost her entire family. Oh, excuse me. Excuse me. Anyway. So That sounds great. There we go. Sorry. Had to answer that. That had to do with the Historical Society and our plans upcoming for Christmas and stuff. Anyway, so I am going to start my Kid Missing writing today. It is absolutely beautiful out. I will say that. Usually, it's fall right now, but usually when it's that sunny on a winter day, it is cold. Anyway, so it was February, so I was 9.5. I turned 10 that August. No, I was 10.5. That was 85, not 84. Dummy. I turned 11 that August. Going back to the case. So I was in fourth grade because it was the 84-85 school year. Yeah, it was scary. Please let me know in the comments if something like this has happened where you live. You know, we had another thing happen. And since this one didn't take long to tell you about, because there wasn't a lot to tell you, I know people that actually knew the grandparents and talked about what wonderful people they were. You know, when I've talked to people years later, some people never heard of the case, which is just crazy to me, but so what brought this up? Well, I was actually watching a video from Summer Sanchez, and she was talking about a case out of Greenfield, Massachusetts, about a young man with severe mental illness who was obsessed with Friday the 13th and committed a gruesome murder. And that was in 1988 when I was 14. It was pretty terrifying too, even though that town is like an hour and a half from me. I was living in Whitensville at the time, which is a neighboring town to here. Sorry, guys. This is important. Jean is suggesting we do it the week after Thanksgiving, the decorating. And I told her, I said, this sounds good. All the craziness with Thanksgiving will be over with. You know, because what if people have family members and stuff staying with them? We do it the week after Thanksgiving. All their family members will be gone home by then. So, I think that's the best idea. Anyway, I'll tell you about the other case that happened in Oxbridge. There's all kinds of stuff about it in here. He actually died in prison, exactly where he belonged. Let me look it up. Walter Gould. It was his grandmother in 1987, June 3rd, 1987. He was 19. I was 13. Well, I turned 13 2 months and 1 day later. Okay, it was in Hudson, but he lived in Oxbridge. He said that he had ineffective assistance of counsel because this was his attempt at what do you call it? Appeal in 1992. And of course, denied. Found guilty of second-degree murder. She wouldn't give him any more money. And drunk on vodka mixed with fruit juice, he killed her. He assaulted her in an intimate manner. He hit her with a glass decanter, and he used knitting needles to, how should I say this for YouTube, make holes where holes had not existed, if you get what I'm saying, in her person. Like now. Oh, spam. Sorry, guys. Where none existed previously in her body. So it was pretty gruesome. He passed away in prison, and his sister has his cremains. I'm very close to his stepmother, and I know how scared his stepmother was. That he would come after them, you know, that he would come after his stepmother, his father, his sisters, you know, and maybe even his brother. His brother just wanted to talk to him, say, what did you do? You know, because his brother and I were dating at the time. Yeah, that's a little close to home. But Walter was always a little bit off. I know that I need to put this in such a way that, well, YouTube will get mad and that I keep it kind of personal. I know that he had done things to young boys. I also know that he almost killed a young boy. For whatever reason, he wasn't arrested then, before the murder happened. I don't know. I don't understand why the police weren't immediately called. These were people, let's just say, close to me. And I just do not think that it's right that police were never called. Gotta pull this up for okay. Pull this up. There we go. And I just think police should have been called. But that wasn't my family's call to make. So, you know, whether or not the police were called wasn't my family's decision, is what I mean. My immediate family's decision. So, it was pretty awful. And then to have him do what he did to his grandmother a few years later, it was probably what? 4 years later? And it might not have mattered, because he might have been out of jail by then. Because he would have been out by the time he turned 18. Because he was under 18 when the incidents occurred. So, yeah. So, it might not have even mattered. Then again, it might have, because maybe he would have gotten some psychological help. Now, he would visit his father. His father didn't have custody of him or his half brother. His father was married 3 times. His first marriage came Walter. His second marriage came Charlie, and his third marriage came 2 daughters. So he had a total of 5 children. His father was there every day in court, and when he was taken to jail, his father, and it's in the newspaper, his father said, "Sorry, son," and walked away. What the heck was that? Anyway, his sister used to visit him occasionally as an adult. And she has his cremains from after he passed in prison a few years ago. He was young. He was only in his 40s. From heart disease, which his father also died young of heart disease. His father was 53, I think. Their father. So, yeah. That's trash. Anyway. So, yeah. You kind of... you learn So to this day, I can't listen to the song Electric Avenue. And I was telling my um, therapist about that. He said, "Oh, it's a shame. It's kind of a cool song." I said, "I can't do it because he used to play it on his boombox." He creeped me out even way back then. I just had a good sense for stuff like that. And my mother was the type that believed in, excuse me, a kid's sense. A lot of parents, they breed it out of their kids, you know, the whole idea that they have a sense for someone who's creepy, you know, someone who is dangerous in some way. And my mother encouraged that sense in me. So I never lost it. Most kids lose that sense because it's not fostered in them. My mother believed in fostering it because she had to grow up quick and she had to grow up with that sense for self-preservation, to protect herself from those who she knew were not on the up and up. So, having been alone since the age of 12, you know, she had to learn quick. And she made sure that I knew. And when a family friend made me uncomfortable, I remember that day. I was playing with his daughter in my bedroom, and I came out into the living room for something. And my parents had gone in the kitchen to make coffee and whatever. And whatever they went out into the kitchen for. And he pulled me down into his lap, had his hands a little too close to places I didn't want his hands. Tried 3 times to get up. And I went back in my bedroom, total panic attack, just thinking about my friend, this little girl, who's still my friend. No names will be mentioned. And, ugh. And so after they left, I told my parents. And they said, "You will never be alone with him again. No questions asked. You will never be alone with him again. We're glad that you could tell us he made you uncomfortable, that you felt he was too close to places he didn't belong, and that he didn't let you up. That's important. You will never be alone with him again." And I wasn't. So it's important that parents are like that. But anyway, I wanted to tell you these stories to show you that these things happen in tiny towns just like they happen in big cities. Hudson's a tiny town where it happened. His father and stepmother were living in Uxbridge, a tiny town. The first case I talked about happened in Douglas. We had 3,700 people at the time, you know? So thank you so much for joining me. God bless you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And I will see you tomorrow.